This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hello, everybody. I'm hot. I'm so hot. And I don't mean hot looking. I mean to tell you what the temperature was about 10 miles from us yesterday. And this is from the U.S. weather people. If you can trust them, I do. So we live in the Coachella Valley, which is where Palm Springs is. That's the most famous city down here, Palm Springs. It's been going since the early 30s and 40s, and Hollywood people would come and stay here. So we live very close to Palm Springs. It's about a 10-minute drive away from us. And then kind of northeast of us is the desert, and there's nothing there. And I know why. It was 131 degrees there yesterday. 131. Can you imagine? Whew. Well, not only that, when we moved in 2.5, almost 3 years ago, when we came down to finish looking at houses and make a decision on the condo we wanted to buy, it was 121. Now, I used to come here as a little girl, and it was never like that. Okay, enough of my complaining, but that is a hot one. 112 today. 112. Okie dokie. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Now, please, I know all of you must know who Charles Dickens is. He was an English author, very well thought of even in his day. And if you have a collection of Charles Dickens books, originals, or even second, third, fourth printing, first printings are kind of hard to get and expensive. Go at least get a copy from the library and read the book. It was the best of times, the worst of times. Okay, A Tale of Two Cities is actually the title of the book. And the reason I am talking about it today is because I think we are living in the best of times and the worst of times. Let me tell you about this. One of the most important books written by Charles Dickens. It is the tale of the surrounding times of the confusion and consternation of the French Revolution. But wait, why would an Englishman worry about the French Revolution? Perhaps for the same reason we worry now about the world situation. I am exploring with you today, during our time together, what is now influencing our lives and how we handle everything on our plate. And I'm telling you, you should be watching the news periodically, listening to it on the radio periodically, because it's going just like this. Every time you turn around, something new is happening. And I do want to address that and how you handle it, but let's just talk about what's going on. That horrible man who has been accused of raping women and other nasty things that I don't even want to talk about is no longer running for senator in Maine. He withdrew last night. Well, some of the things that have come out about him are so gross and disgusting. Why would the Democrats ever put him up? What were they thinking, Bernie, Pocahontas? What were you thinking? What has happened to my friends who are Democrats? Where are you and what are you doing? This isn't your party anymore. This is a party of socialists and downright communists. Some of the people running for office may as well just say they're communists because that's their philosophy. You people that were like John Kennedy and others, take back your party. We need a two-party system in the United States. I'm not telling you that you all should be Republican or conservative. I'm telling you, you don't want to lose your company and lose the privilege of being an honest to goodness Democrat, and how the people who formed our country and brought it up to the time, I would say the end of the 80s, 90s, they were good people. But you got some lunatics in your party now. And he was one of them. And he took his name off the ballot last night. But of course, he denied any of the allegations out there against him. When three women come and explicitly say what he did to them, it's not a good sign. Not a good sign. So I think you better take your party back before any more of these crazy people get in office. And what does that speak about you, you Republicans, you conservatives? Why are you letting this go on? I don't hear a lot of you talking about it except for elected officials. Are you frightened? Are you scared? Well, you should be. I am. I don't want to live in a country that is communistic or socialistic for that matter. And I've told you before, go look them up so you understand it. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And how about, speaking of New York, the people who live in New York are already complaining. Nobody's shopping in the city-owned grocery store. The prices are too high. The produce isn't good. They can't make any money. They can't get deliveries. What about the subways? I haven't heard anything about that, but I think this mostly we're not hearing a terrible lot about New York and their new government is because they're having a few disasters there. A building, a 37-story building is falling down from bad construction. Who was looking at that? Heads will roll for this one, and indeed they should. Look it up. Watch it on the news. It could have been a bigger disaster than it already was. I haven't heard of any deaths, but there must have been. I mean, there must be people unaccounted for it. Not everybody has people around them. I don't know if it was condos, apartments, office space. I have no idea. I haven't heard the whole story about it. But all I know is buildings in New York are smack dab up together, and they're lucky it didn't bring down another building. Horrible stuff going on. So, what else is going on in the world? Well, President Trump went over to Turkey for the NATO meeting that they were having, and he spoke, and they seemed to all get along pretty well, but he's adamant he is not allowing Iran to do any more. And these people over there at this meeting they all agreed with him. This cannot continue to go on because Iran is bombing different places, our ships and things in the strait. It's a mess. It's a mess. And then in one of his pressers, Trump was asked something like, "Are you afraid of being shot, or is that why you didn't take the new airplane back home?" And he has a brand new millions of dollars worth of new airplane because Air Force One, which is the president's plane for 40 years, is very old. It needs many, many upgrades on it. It's certainly safe to fly, or he wouldn't be on it. But then they decided that he could not go home on the new airplane. And if I'm correct, the plane was a gift from Kuwait. I may have that wrong. I didn't have a chance to look it up. But all of a sudden, he was not going to get on it, and neither were any of the other people. And he just said all the upgrades hadn't been finished, and he wanted to get it done before he was flying on it. You want my opinion? It's not safe. How do we know, even though they checked it out, how do we know that there isn't something on that airplane that could be put into the ventilation system and you never know where it was? It would be invisible, it would come on and kill everybody in the airplane. You don't know. You don't know what. Missiles being shot at it or something. Every time Air Force One flies, there is a bunch of military planes flying along, flanking him, protecting him anytime that goes in the air. But we don't really know about this new airplane. That they thought they did, but apparently they weren't satisfied with the safety, or that it was, oh, thank you. I just looked up to read my notes. Thank you, Juan. It was a gift from Qatar. Qatar. Everybody pronounces it differently. I say Qatar. Thank you for telling me that and telling everybody else. So now you know where it's from. And we need to make sure that it will be okay before he gets on it with his entourage. So then somebody else in a presser asked him and said, "Are you not afraid to go anywhere now and be out in public?" He said, they've attempted my life 3 times. Of course I am. I'm #1 kill shot on the Iranians list. And he is. This is craziness. Just craziness. He's a brave man and he's done so much to help us. I know a lot of you don't think he's done what they should have. There was Sunny from The View who thinks he's absolutely horrible, and she would vote for anybody else other than him. Well, I think he's done pretty well. Our country, she hates America too. She comes right out and says it. So I say, go live in a different country. I wonder if you could make your millions on something like The View in another country. Yeah, they're paid in the millions, all these people that your news hosts on the different stations and all, they have big shows with big ratings. They're making a ton of money, and that's okay. We live in a free country for now. And if you earn it, that's wonderful. Wish somebody had paid me that much. But they work hard for it. You just see them on television speaking into a microphone that's jammed on them someplace. They work hard for it. They have to talk to the people that are verifying all the stories and set up the schedule of what story is going to be first. It's a hard job. I didn't expect to talk about that today, but you know me, I go off on my tangents and there we go. So now I have to say that a lot of people are becoming very stressed and very unhappy and very frightened, especially after you start to hear words like, I don't know what's happening with my screen, words like they're not flying in the new Air Force One. And of course, you're going to become frightened and anxious. And then what are you going to tell your kids? Well, your kids that are old enough to go to school, and I would have to say, even at the time when they're getting ready to go into middle school, hear what's going on. They might hear it in the car with their parents on the news station that the parents haven't turned off and haven't put back onto the radio station that's playing some old-fashioned rock and roll. They hear it on television. They hear it in the classroom, in between their own friends. They hear it on the playing field when they're out there getting ready to play soccer and the kids are yelling and screaming, we're going to play Iran, or Iran's going to play some other country and this and that. And it's difficult. It's difficult even for the teenagers that are in high school to figure out everything that's going on in the world because we as adults can't figure it out. And there's a lot of stress and problems. These kids aren't just having fun when they're playing and studying for finals and all. They're working hard, and now they're on spring break, excuse me, summer break, and they're hearing a lot now. Some of them have jobs, some of them are taking extra classes, some are going on vacations. They're not comfortable with this. They don't know. Now, there have been many of us that have lived through these terrible threats of war involving us before. I'm old. Most of you are old, so during the presidencies of Eisenhower and all during that era, we were just getting into the Cold War, but there was the threat of bombing over here and having them attack us. At that time, it suddenly became Russia who was against us. Russia had to fight for their own freedom in the revolution. You have to read about that one because it will confuse you and how it became communistic with President Putin. But he had to fight for his position. He was in the Secret Service of theirs over there, and that's how he became president, was by being active in that and taking over and becoming what Russia is today. So there are always wars, back to biblical times and before. Wars, wars, wars. Only now it's more dangerous. Now, we are fighting with our military and we are shooting down drones that are getting ready to put missiles or bombs into other places. Well, I don't understand all of that. I mean, the mechanics of it. And I am certain even the high school students don't totally understand what's going on either, and the college kids. Now, the college kids are away from home. So what are they hearing in the fraternities and sororities and the different clubs on campus? And you know what's going on in many of them. There's a lot of anti-Semitism going on in the colleges around the country, the universities around the country. This is a very bad thing to be starting up. And it should never be anyway. Love your brother. This is ridiculous. You can't tell me one thing about the Jews that would make me hate them. I don't know why anybody does. I don't know. How can you figure out somebody and just suddenly start hating them? It was like before the civil rights, when somebody would see a black person and a white person would hate them, and a black person would see a white person and the black person would hate the white person. It's all ridiculous. We are all created equal. It's not God who didn't make us equal. He said you were, and it's in the Constitution. It's the people who get it in their head that are so full of hate, they don't know what else to do with their life but hate. And then you have people stirring it up, like Pocahontas and Bernie, and now AOC. So what the heck is going on? It's getting worse and worse and worse. Instead of better, it's getting worse. Are people with small children indoctrinating them to hate people? I know mine aren't. My grandson who's turning 21 in August, I will never forget Donald Trump's first campaign to become president. And my son and my daughter-in-law were in favor of whoever was running against them then. Who was running against them? Oh, Biden, I guess, because Biden became president. So my 21, soon to be 21-year-old was very small then, very young. And when we were having fun and going around the room and talking and all, because you should include your grandkids and your kids in discussions of different things. He said, "I'm for Trump." And his mother and father just laughed. And he said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Why are you voting for Trump? Why would you vote for Trump?" Well, of course, because his grandma mama was voting for Trump. And we had been discussing it and what Mr. Trump did before and all. And my grandson had thought it out. He must have been all of like, I don't know, pretty young. I can't remember. I guess I could subtract it, but who cares? So it's what you say to your kids and how you raise them and let them decide for themselves what they think is good and bad. Now, in our schools, I don't think we are reading any proper books anymore. You know, do you have to read 5 books over summer vacation anymore? And you can't make them comic books? The classics and things like A Tale of Two Cities, things like, oh, I don't know, read the ones that tell you about Animal Farm and things like that. Just look them up. Read what authors before have said. Read Stolichnaya. He's from Russia. They almost killed him. They'd put him in a camp, a political camp many years ago, and then he was allowed to leave. You need to know these things. You need to study them. Don't just decide that you're going to go along with your girlfriends having lunch and everybody hates Trump and he's a womanizer and he's this and he's that. Believe me, if he was a womanizer, somebody would have come out and said something. I don't know anybody who has. And by the way, if he was single and the woman was single, it's up to the woman to say no if she doesn't want anything from him. Okay? Some of these people, women in particular, like to make things up. Believe me, I know there are bad men out there, of course. Having been a CEO of a company, I know that. They hit on you all the time. Be strong, smack them, do anything you want. But let's not lie about it. Let's be truthful. And apparently, it has been decided that the women talking about this man who just dropped off the ballot was a very nasty man. Okay. Why he was ever put on there, I don't know. I don't know his whole background. All I know is what's been going on in the last couple years, according to these women and to the other people. And it's nasty, nasty stuff. Why would the Democrats even put somebody on a ticket like that? Explain that to me. Because he's a Democrat socialist or a socialist Democrat or whatever the heck they're calling it. This is ridiculous. And why do they want to run AOC? Most of the time, she can't even talk. She makes no sense. Biggest thing I remember about her when she first got in office is when she started doing these selfie videos is she needed more money from Congress because she couldn't afford to get an apartment in the district. I beg your pardon, everybody else does. And you get the same salaries when you're a new person in the Congress. It's like a business. You get a set fee like anybody else. What the heck is the matter with you guys? And then she's sitting on the counter in her kitchen, her wee little kitchen, and all she's got in there is a can of beer or a bottle of beer, sipping that. Have a beer with me. Have a beer with me. What? You got some nutty people there. Now, I'm not saying that all Republicans are lily white and clean and don't do anything wrong. It's not true. They do things wrong, but I'm not going to get into that anymore because pretty soon it starts boring me. And I don't want to bore you. So what's going on in our country now, though, is good in one way because we are talking and expressing our opinions and we are voting, but face facts. There are some people who've been in office that weren't so great. I was so proud with my Black friends that I still have from high school and occasionally get to see them. I was proud for them to have the first Black president. I wasn't so proud when he took a plane load of money over to the Middle East to drop off. That did not impress me too much. Okay, so we are suffering from Trump hatred for sure. But I want you to look and see what the man has done and helped people that he didn't even know. Why don't you read something about him? I'm happy to say that the West Palm Beach Airport, of which I've been in many times, is now the Donald J. Trump Airport. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the airports in our country are named after congressmen or senators or presidents, things like that. Of course, they have other names too, but it's a way of honoring the people that have served us and helped us throughout our lives. So that's how he got his name on the West Palm Beach Airport. Good changing names. I really was kind of blown away when he changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And I thought, what is he doing? Grabbing gulfs instead of grabbing lands? Like he's talking about Greenland, which would really help us in our national security. And then I thought about it. Who did name the Gulf of Mexico now the Gulf of America? I haven't had time to look up something like that. I have other things going on in my life that I have to try to solve. And we do actually have more land around the Gulf of America than Mexico does. And I never even thought about it before. So it makes sense to me. And really, we are called the North American continent. So let's look into that and see how these things get named and all. Oh, so Juan drives past the airport every day. Did you see the new sign, Juan? Was it up? We'll find out from him. He's going to answer me in a minute. Yeah, so that's a really nice airport down there. And of course, West Palm and Palm Beach and all that area is very nice. The sign says President Donald J. Trump. So that's cool. I like that. I really like that. Thanks for telling me. So there are people, though, that are afraid that if they stand up next to a window, they may get hit by a nuclear weapon. I mean, people are starting to become really frightened of what's going on. Personally, I think we should end the war by getting rid of Iran, except we have the citizens that are still protesting against the regimes, and I hate to see them harmed or killed. But you can't deny the fact that the Iranians are killing people constantly, every day. Remember, they just killed an 11-year-old girl whose mother had sold her into prostitution. And then for her punishment, they raped her. They gave her 40 whacks with the whip. They beat her, and then they hung her upside down. Nice people. An 11-year-old. My grandson is 11. These things just They kill me. It's just, it breaks my heart. And they do this to everyone. They did it to the three soccer players, and then it goes on and on and on. They threaten President Trump all the time. Now, here's my thought on the uranium, and this should scare you. They say that it isn't enriched and it's underground. And they're supposed to get rid of it or bury it so deep they can never get it back out. I think they're lying. They lie about everything. They say that they're negotiating peace and they're on a ceasefire, but then they go bomb everybody. Well, no wonder all of you are stressed and thinking about this all the time. And now on summer vacation, some of you are canceling your plans, canceling the flights, afraid that you might be shot out of the sky. Come on, people. Let's live our lives. Do something to relax. Have fun with your family. Enjoy the classes, the extra classes you're taking in school to get into the best colleges. Go ahead and do a great job in your field that you're studying for. Maybe it's in banking and you can get an internship in a bank or a brokerage firm or an attorney's office or city councils. There's all sorts of things you can do. You don't need to go steal cars or break windows or not talk to your parents. Don't do bad things because you hear some bad things on the radio or the television. You have to stay calm and put yourself to some good work and learn new things. And if you're a religious person, then you should say your prayers. I say a prayer every morning and every night. And halfway through the day, I start talking to God and Jesus. And I'm sure when I'm taking my walk, some people think I'm talking to myself, but that's okay because I'm listening too. So you need to remain calm. And I don't see a lot of calm people. I think you should keep walking. I think you should keep exercising. If you have a pool or access to a pool, start swimming. Go into the ocean. The ocean feels so good. Don't pay attention to those crazy people saying all the sharks are out and they're eating people. Sharks are always off the coast of Florida and they're always off the coast of California. People just don't realize it. They don't really want to just eat you for no reason. They see you churning up the water or bleeding. You might be bleeding and they're attracted to blood. So you don't want to do that. You know, the first thing you should do is hit the shark in the nose as hard as you can and get away. But if you can't, there was a terrible, terrible video of a man in Florida who got hit. He doesn't even know how it happened. The shark got up under him somehow and took off one of his legs in his mouth. And he kept yelling for help. And I don't know, Juan, do you know what happened to him? I think he lost both legs and an arm. So there are sharks and you should be careful. So if there's a flag or a sign out on this beach has sharks, I wouldn't go in the water. Okay, the temperatures are different right now and sharks are always out there. I read something the other day that we're way below the limit of people who have been attacked by sharks, which is something like 72, but it wasn't just our country, it was other countries too. And there was something like 5 deaths. So we're below the average of what happens all the time. But you don't want you to be one of the victims. So be careful and be careful with your kids. But you should during this time because there's so much going on and people getting upset and exhausted and all. Try to keep your normal routines. What do you usually do during the summer? Too many of us have too much free time during the summer, and it makes our heads and our hearts just keep going and going and going and conjuring up the worst things that could happen. I'm here to tell you something, though. If you're worrying about a nuclear weapon hitting us on the West Coast in California, you can stop, because if it comes and you're there, you're going to be gone. You're just going to be a little puddle. It's not going to hurt. You won't know. So that's why President Trump is there and has come back and is trying to keep these people from doing crazy things. Say your prayers. You know, there are a couple of different sites and all that you can go on. You can find them on the internet, and all of you are on the internet. I know that. Look them up if you need somebody to talk to about this. Find a mental health expert that talks about how war is affecting you. And you can't really say we're in a war. We're in a war with just Iran trying to annihilate the world and be the only ones in the world who can govern. We don't want that, because they really have no regard for life. Here we wanted to have peace, but yet Iran, for 47 plus years now, does nothing but say death to America. And they hate Israel. Everybody hates Israel. They're our ally. We don't hate Israel. We love Israel. They've done marvelous things. You know, when I was in the supplement business with my magazine, Israel was always there with different booth setups, coming out with amazing things for health. Amazing. Hatred is not going to get anybody anywhere. And what it's going to do to you is destroy your health. I have a friend, well, she used to be a friend. I had to stop seeing her because she would ask my advice and she wouldn't take it. Well, it's not that I was offended. It's that she was doing things she shouldn't have done. One, she lives in a beautiful condominium in the Los Angeles area, and they have no dogs over 10 pounds or something like that. So what does she do? Oh, let me tell you, she was also afraid of Mediterranean people, Middle Eastern people. She didn't know any, and she said they had taken over her building. I don't even know what the hell she's talking about. She gets this dog, a pit bull, a heavy, big pit bull. Well, it's a little over 10 pounds. And I would not be near a pit bull because 9 times out of 10, the little angel pit bull as a puppy has been raised by somebody who has taught it to be an attack dog. Well, it's against the rules in the building. You signed it, you bought it. And then she tells me she doesn't like the gardeners and the this and the that. Every single one of them wasn't pure lily white, and she hates them. And obviously, I'm not like that. And I tried to talk to her about it. She had a very wealthy father who apparently left her a lot of money. And I don't know what she did with it. But she's not living a life that makes her happy. And often people like that get into alcohol and drugs. And I could see this, and it was breaking my heart, but I couldn't help her anymore. So for my own sake and her sake, and the people who do know her and live closer to her, because I'm quite distant from her now physically, are still there for her and will help her. But I keep her in my prayers every night because she's so filled with hate. So filled with hate, and it's just destroying her life. And that's why I wanted to tell you about hate. So let's not teach her little kids to hate. Let's go take mud baths. Come and visit us in the desert. We have hot springs down here everywhere. It's a little hot for them right now, but they're natural springs that pop up, and this is good for relaxation for all of you who are getting a little too tight. They're also all over the country in different spots, so you can figure it out. Look it up on the internet. If you have some near you, you should go visit one of these hot springs where you just sit in it. Most of the time they stink because they're full of sulfur, but they sit and they relax. They're kind of bubbling up all over you, and they're delightful. So treat yourself nicely. Eat a healthy diet. This is no time to be eating a bunch of ice cream just because it's so hot. Just ask me. I've gained some pounds from doing that myself. So take care of yourself. See if you can't go have a massage. That would be delightful for you. Relax. And if you can get away from your teenage kids once in a while, you and your husband or your spouse or your wife or your whatever, you could go on a little trip. Wherever you live, there are beautiful places. And you should see our country. How many of you have seen the Grand Canyon? I talk about the Grand Canyon a lot. One of my most fun times was when we took a raft. We went rafting down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon, which is all owned by Indian native tribes. And you pay a small fee, and if you're going for a long trip, like we did, we not especially long, it was 3 nights. You camped out under the stars, and that was beautiful. And then they made delightful dinners for us, steaks on the campfires and cleaned up. And they even had a little wine for us. Women beware, there are no potties out there. You have to be a real camper. There's lots of rocks to go behind. You need to do things like that. And if you don't want to go or you can't get away from business, all that, remember, I always tell you about the state parks and the city parks. Remember to do that. So go explore nature this summer, and hopefully it will calm you down a little bit. Be aware of what's going on, but don't let it consume your life. You should be healthy, wealthy, and wise. And in order to be wealthy, you need to have good health. And to be wealthy and wise, you need to understand what's going on. So healthy, wealthy, and wise all goes together. Boy, those people from back in that day were all so smart. Think of all the little things they wrote about. Well, I had a glorious 4th of July. I stayed home with my husband, and we watched all day long the big celebration in Washington, D.C., and the different people being interviewed, and so many people went, and it was hot one day, and then it was raining and lightning, and they had to move around, and it was delightful. And the fireworks show afterwards undoubtedly was the best I've ever seen in my life, and most everybody else's, and it was really, really long. But that was really fun. And there was a man who was 107 years old. 107. He had been in World War I. And they let him represent the flag from that war that was brought back from that war. That war, if you're not familiar with World War I, it was a European war over there. And that flag had been mounted to preserve it. And this 107-year-old man, he was in a wheelchair, but one of the military escorts helped him up to stand, and he stood all the way through it as they played some patriotic songs, and the flag was presented to be put where it will be safe. I think in the White House, but maybe the Capitol building, I'm not sure. And then there was another man who was 101 years old. And all these people ended up in one building because the lightning was coming down and they wanted to protect everybody. So cameras were in there for the different news stations, staying out of danger. And a lot of the hosts from television were in there, and a lot of these veterans, all the veterans that were going to present something during President Trump's little talk. And this man was 101, had served in World War II, and he loves our country. And he stood up and just started singing a cappella. Nobody asked him to. He wanted to. Can I take this time to sing a song? And of course, everybody was all excited. I thought maybe they'd sing I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy or something. But what he sang was America the Beautiful. And even as I think of it now, it brings tears to my eyes that somebody 101 years old will stand up and sing America the Beautiful. So with that, my tears are coming. Good grief. I'm a tearful person these last few days and weeks. So I love my country. I know you do too. And I hope that you're enjoying your summer, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thanks.